All right, we have the now former CFFC flyweight champion Sean Shorty Rock Santella on the program. As we found out earlier this week via a press release, Sean vacated the title, and we're going to get into all of that in just a moment with Sean Santella. Sean, how are you, man?
I'm doing good, man. Just leaving AC. It's happy Valentine's Day to everybody. Just relaxing for the rest of the day.
What was going on in AC?
Nothing. Just went down for a comedy show and chilled out, Had some free room, so might as well take advantage of it.
Absolutely. I have like a free room from down there from like 8 or 9 years ago. I think I lost the rights to that, but AC is a good time, man. But first things first, to open the curtain, so to speak, I was told that you had some things to get off your chest in regards to this press release and vacating the title. Now, the release says, and let me just pull it up in front of me right now. It states that you elected to vacate the belt in hopes of allowing fresh talent an opportunity to secure championship bouts while pursuing their dreams of fighting in the sport's biggest promotions. And it also said that this is a joint decision between you and CFFC to vacate the title. Now, you wanted to come on and share your side of this, so please talk about what happened from your perspective.
Yeah, it definitely was a mutual thing, but it was more or less, an issue because of, me not being able to get a fight. With fighting everybody on the East Coast, pretty much all the top prospects, the new talent coming up through CFFC, their records are, under, 5 fights. The next guy in line, so to speak, that's going to be fighting for the title is one of my teammates, which obviously me and him are never going to fight because we're training partners. So I was kind of at a standstill with either going up to 35, which I have other teammates from my gym at 35, or kind of trying to move on and, go from there. So me and Rob have been talking about what to do. And, my last fight was in September. I want to fight as much as possible. If I could fight every other month, I would. So to be fighting once every, 6 or 7 months, I'm just not okay with it, So, we sat down and we talked, and, we pretty much just came up with just nothing left for me. And I know that, CFFC being a local promotion, they're going to have a salary cap, so to speak, for the fighters, or a purse cap, would be best to explain it. And I'm probably at that point. And, as you know, how the local promotions are set up with their pay is, you sell tickets and then they offer you a purse, and that's how it evens out where everybody's happy. Well, eventually I'm not going to be able to sell, so many tickets to match my purse, and then I'm constantly going to get hit with a deduction every time I fight. Because every win, obviously your purse goes up a little bit, but also your ticket minimum goes up a little bit. So if you don't sell more tickets than your last fight, then you actually get hit with a deduction for winning your previous fight. So it's almost like being penalized for winning your fights. And, how long I've been doing this, I'm eventually only going to be able to sell so many tickets that, I don't have the same following, so to speak, as a 20-something-year-old that is either in college or, all their friends are still out partying. Most of my friends are married, they have kids, or, they moved, stuff like that. So it's just hard to keep up with those ticket sales for my purse to be what I, respectively should earn, So, and then, limit yourself to one promotion, it becomes very difficult. So, just because of pretty much the lack of finding me a fight, and then, I guess people turning me down, it just becomes an issue of, do I move on and try to promote myself and get into a different promotion, or do I stay at CFFC and probably sit on the shelf and hopefully maybe eventually somebody would come along and want to take a fight. So, it's it was kind of mutual, but in the same sense, I feel like I had no other option, I'm getting a lot of people, saying congratulations to me on social media because of the article. I'm kind of like, I don't know what I'm being congratulated for, because as I kind of look at it, it's like I kind of just left my job. I don't have a job. When you leave your promotion, they're your employer, so now kind of unemployed. obviously I'm going to be hunting around, but, you know, again, there's only a handful of promotions that will probably be able to, if anything, be able to pay me somewhat what I deserve on top of trying to pay somebody to come in. So it kind of sucks because I'm at a standstill of not knowing what's next, you know? So, you know, it is what it is. It sucks at the same time. I wish that, you know, I wish I could stay and fight at CFFC as much as possible until I did get a bigger call, or, you know, I just didn't think that was going to happen. The last two fights I fought for them was at Parks Casino, which got really like zero marketability. You know, it hurt me with ticket sales because they have an age minimum of people that could come in. You got to be 21 to get in there. I train, you know, parents that have kids, like families. So I lost, you know, thousands of dollars on ticket sales being able, you know, being fighting at the parks. And, you know, there was no real coverage. Yeah, UFC had it, but there just really wasn't that much coverage. One time we're fighting at 2 o'clock because of the UFC Fight Pass issue. The other time we lost our main event. So I felt like that kind of hit it off too. But, you know, MMA Junkie wasn't really covering it. You know, like this last fight was pretty much a spitting image of my fight as far as the title fights. You know, I had a title fight. Dawkins had a title fight. Sabatini was supposed to fight, and Sabatini's fight got canceled that way. And so there were still 3 title fights. I think Willis also fought Jamal Willis. But like there was really nothing, you know, not like it was this past one. So I felt like, you know, in the same sense, it could have done a lot better as far as promoting, you know, or, you know, sticking me on a bigger card for the Hard Rock. But I was never able to really get my wish. I just thought maybe that would have a better opportunity because they just, frankly, the all pro shows get more coverage. You know, that's the bottom line. So, you know, it sucks, but, you know, was it mutual? Yeah. But in the same sense, I didn't really feel like I had a choice. You know, CFFC said they could always bring me back for a super fight, which I guess would have to mean I would have to bump up, you know, to like 130 or 135, because it wouldn't make sense me coming back at 25 fighting a super fight when I had to vacate my belt, you know. But, you know, I don't know. You know, it sucks.
So what was the conversation like when the decision was actually made? I mean, obviously you say it's mutual, you agreed with it, but as you guys are going back and forth on what to ultimately do towards the end here, how did that conversation go?
Well, the last thing before we really started talking about vacating was the this Keshtov fight that he just had against the Brazilian kid. And when that fight was announced, I always do research 25, 35-pound fighters, you know, so I'm always interested in matchups. As well as being an athlete, I'm also a huge fan, you know, so I checked out the kid from Brazil that Alexander Keshtov just fought. And come to find out, he was actually a 25-pounder that he's been fighting at 35. So I had mentioned, hey, if he beats Keshtov, I would love that fight at 25. You know, I think that would be great. He could be, you know, a possible 2-time, you know, CFFC champ. I would have a legitimate contender to fight. You know, at that time, I think he'd be like 15-1. So I thought that would be cool. But then he ended up coming in and missing 135 by 3 pounds. So then we were like, well, what are the chances that this kid comes in and actually makes 25? So that was kind of like the end of all means about me kind of staying because, you know, there's not really anything left. You know, it's always even shut. The Pennsylvania Athletic Commission didn't want to approve that. That's why it was only scheduled for 3 rounds. Because it was either like, listen, you're going to get a 3-round fight, or we're not going to approve the fight because we just don't want to approve it for 5 rounds. The kid's pretty much inactive. You know, we just don't think that it's going to be a good fight. And if you ask Shut, you would think that it was a very close fight, even though he got dominated all 3 rounds. But, you know, it was kind of like, even that fight was like, hey, we're just like reaching for the stars and hoping that we can find you a fight. That fight should have happened back when he was active 2-3 years ago, you know? So in the end, there really isn't much left. And I think that the CFFC wants to put their energy and focus into bringing on new talent rather than wasting energy or resources trying to and money to bring somebody in to fight me. So, plus, again, I'm not a 200 ticket seller. I sell about 100, 120 tickets. I definitely always cover my purse. But again, when you got to fly somebody in, my ticket sales need to cover my opponent's purse, his flight, his corner's flight, his hotel, all that stuff, or else the promotion's going to end up losing money, which I think fighting for somebody for so long, I think I deserve, one give me. If a promotion that I fought for, 14 times, lost a couple bucks on just one fight, I don't consider that a loss if you go back and look at all the things that I've helped throughout the years, So, it just sucks, but, we left on good terms. As far as, me vacating the belt, I still got tons of students that are fighting for them, and I'm still cornering and stuff like that. So, I think it's good. And, I do agree with Rob saying that, that I'm a prospect or I'm not a prospect. So it's kind of pointless to keep me around, But in the same sense, I do feel like they possibly could have done a little more for me, reaching out maybe across the West Coast, throw around a little more money to get somebody to bite on it. But again, I understand it's a business, and it's about making money and putting people to the next level. And, so I do understand the decision. It still sucks regardless, the thing that kind of confused me a little was a lot of people that read the article were constantly saying congratulations, thinking, I already got something bigger and better. And really, that it hasn't been like that. I've been doing a lot of reaching out to other local promotions, because, obviously now I am a free agent, about just trying to fight because, I'm not asking to make millions, but I want to stay active. I want to fight, hopefully I still get a chance at moving on to a bigger show. But, in the end, I don't have a fight and I don't have a promotion that I'm focused on right now or that I'm contracted to. And that kind of sucks because it's, probably the first time in my career that I'm kind of at a standstill with no fight and no home, so it definitely does suck. And, it is what it is and I got to push forward, but it does suck and it's nothing to be congratulated over, I can tell you that.
So were you under an exclusive agreement with CFFC? Like, I know you fought for Brave and you fought for some regional promotions in Pennsylvania over the last couple of years. As this title run was happening, were you under an exclusive deal with CFFC or were you still able to fight elsewhere?
No, I was pretty much an exclusive deal until they couldn't find me a fight. So anytime that they let me fight out a fight, it was simply because they couldn't find me an opponent, and I asked to be released just so I can stay active. So the Brave thing was obviously, they offered me a little more money. I got to go into a bigger promotion, which was cool. But, I fought for Brave, and then, I had a 3-fight deal with them. They had me fighting in December 2 years ago, I think it was. Not this past December, but December before that. And the kid, I think, failed his medicals or something like that. So he got pulled in the beginning of December, actually, when I was out in, I think it was Toronto, when I was cornering Caitlin. I got the call saying, hey, kid failed his medicals, the fight's off. So I was like, all right, well, I'd like to get in there as soon as possible. Let me know. Never heard anything from them. So my contract ended up expiring. So I had one fight in a year. I was supposed to be 3 fights. And so they, I guess, even had an issue. They started signing all these new guys, Makovsky, Torres. And I'm like, great, they're building the division. But then they still couldn't find me a fight. So it's like, just weird. I don't know, again, if these guys were, if they wanted to build somebody. I know Torres has come through their amateur scene, that IMAF or whatever. I've always loved that fight, even when he was a champion at Titan and they needed somebody. But, yeah, so, it sucks, but, when I fought CFFC and I won their title, their contract is, your contract extends. I believe this is how it's worded. If you win the title, your contract automatically gets extended 1 fight. It's kind of like a championship clause. So every time I won, it obviously got extended. when I was champion or I was the interim champion, which I really didn't mind because unless I was going into a bigger promotion, I was happy with CFFC. I love their production. Makes you feel like you're at the big stage. It is well run. Um, does it have its hiccups? Yeah, I feel like every promotion does. Whether that's the fighters that come in and miss weight, or if it's people not checking up on them, to make sure that their weight cut's going good. The ticket sale thing. Again, I understand it's a business. I have two sides to that. I feel like I've done my due diligence beginning in my career selling a shitload of tickets. So I feel like you get up to 32 fights. I shouldn't be held accountable to sell 150 tickets to make a couple grand with what I've done, But again, I deal with it because I know it's part of the business. But I feel like the guys that have, 0 to 5 fights should be your big ticket sellers. And they should kind of be covering, your title fights to to be more marketable and to bring in bigger names. That's my opinion. But so CFFC did let me fight PA cage fight. They let me fight what's it called, Brave, when they couldn't find me a fight and stuff like that. So it was good that I could stay active. And now that I think about it, we probably maybe could have done the same thing. With letting me fight out, but they wouldn't want me to stay the champion because they have other guys coming up that they want to push forward to the next level, and obviously having the CFFC flyweight belt they feel is important to get to the next level. Me, I personally don't think so. I think if that was the case, I would have been signed a long time ago because out of 14 fights with CFFC, if I'm not mistaken, 3 of them were non-title fights, maybe 2. So ever since I got in there, my first fight, CFFC, title fight, Aljamain Sterling. My second fight, title fight with Lachaume for 125. And then I went all the way through. And then I think I had an interim fight with Gray. And then I think I went to Brave. So I think that CFFC either stripped me or something or other. But I gave up the title when I left the promotion. I came back. I fought for the number 1 contender. And then I got the interim belt again. And then ever since then, except for my Aoki fight, or Naoki, that was the only non-title fight. Meanwhile, he just got out of the UFC. So if you thought any of them was going to be a title fight, that would have been the title fight.
Right.
But the last 2 fights have been title fights for them. So, almost my whole career at CFFC has been a title fight, So, but yeah, I don't think even if they let me fight out of contract that I was going to be able to hold the belt. I just don't think that was going to be an option for the simple fact that I was holding up the division because, the newer guys that they have coming in only have a handful of fights. Whether or not Nick Lumbo or Greg Serb and PA would approve of it, you don't really know, but, either way, I think CFFC just thought that there's nothing really left for me locally, which I do agree, but in the same sense, it still kind of leaves me, jobless.
I know the situation stinks. You're at a standstill. You want to fight. You're a free agent officially now. Would you describe the feeling of all this as, are you disappointed in all this, or in a way, is it a sense of relief in your eyes that, now you could explore and look for different opportunities without being held back at all?
Honestly, it's been like a roller coaster of emotions, At first, I thought it was going to be, the next step. I thought that the press release was going to give me a little more. I was hoping, and maybe I misunderstood Rob. I really thought that MMA Junkie was going to push it. We're really going to do this huge thing because I would like to think that I'm probably the biggest free agent not signed to a big promotion. You know what I'm saying? So for whatever the reason, I don't know why, a lot of media outlets don't pick up more things. I just think it could be the lack of marketing from, promotions that I fought for, but, I haven't really done a lot of interviews. No one's really been interested. It was almost just all right, he's kind of done and over with, even though he's still smashing everybody they put in front of him. I haven't really gotten a lot of, publicity. So I thought that this was going to help out, I thought it was going to, maybe get to other people, or go across people's desks and they read it and be like, all right, well, maybe we have an idea. Maybe we can do this. Maybe we can do that. And it wasn't that at all. So, at first I was excited. And then after that, it was like, then it was more of like, all right, I'm going to hit up the bar and have a drink because I'm a little depressed type. And, let it soak up. And then it was, all right, well, now I've been here before, but I have had to try to find my own fights throughout my career because I've had this issue before. So I usually give a promotion 6 or 7 names. I do all the research, which is pretty much, I look at the world rankings. I find anybody from the United States, and I say, hey, I'll fight this guy. As long as they're not signed to a bigger organization, I send it to a promotion. Literally, all they have to do is call the guy's gym and say, hey, who's so-and-so's manager? And then make the offer, So to me, I do all the hard work of finding myself an opponent. They just have to connect the dots because I don't know what a promotion's going to offer, So I've done this a lot in my career, So that's what I'm doing now. That's why I put a thing on social media about, hey, here's 6 guys I'll fight. All of them have great records. Some of them are champions in other organizations. Some of them they have wins in bigger organizations, but they're all from, the United States, or they've recently fought in the United States. So, I'm hoping that another promotion can just grab a guy and I can fight, So, I was down and out for 2 days, kind of thinking about what I'm going to do. And now it's just like, all right, well, I'll do what they don't want to do. I'll get my hands dirty and find an opponent. And if a promotion wants to do it, all they have to do is call them up and make it happen, So that's what I'm hoping happens with another local promotion. Or if, honestly, you always want to get picked up by a bigger promotion. But, I know the Contender Series, I think, is coming up in April. I would love to get on that, I know that I did have a fight offer for a newer promotion called Ares, Ares. They actually just announced a fight in Brussels, in Germany.
Yeah.
I actually got an offer to fight John Marega, and I agreed to the fight. And I was in negotiations with their matchmaker or the owner, and then all of a sudden I didn't hear from him. And then I read on SureDog that they went and got somebody else to fight him. So I don't know if Marega turned me down or financially they went out and found somebody cheaper, but we were like in the very beginning stages. I accepted the fight, but we were negotiating the purse, and pretty much they offered, and then I suggested, and then I didn't hear from them. And then next thing you know, they went and got somebody else, that just came out of the UFC to fight Marega. So, that would have been nice because that's a bigger promotion. They seem to be up and coming. They're like a French African cross promotion. So anytime I get excited, anytime I can fight a name like John Marega or a big name, because just like when I fought Naoki, he just came out of the UFC. He had a split decision loss to Schnell, who was on a killer streak. Some people would think that, maybe Naoki won that. So he was 1-1. And then he got cut during that whole flyweight thing where pretty much the loser of every fight got cut because they were going to scrap the division. So there was a lot of good guys that got cut that shouldn't have been cut. And I think he was one of them. But I went out and completely dominated him. I think I had a 10-8 rounds in one of the rounds with him. So I didn't lose a round with him. That just goes to show that I belong with these guys, So any opportunity I can get to show that I belong, I'll jump at, so, that's kind of the, the details of everything. And, again, it sucks and it's been like a roller coaster of emotions, but I'm not the type that's going to sit here for a week and just be all miserable. I know there's things I can do, and if I can help promote myself, like I said, by talking to you guys and getting everything out and giving promotions some options for opponents, then maybe we can find a fight and get on a card somewhere and, make it happen. But I just want to stay active, I would love to travel. I'd love to fight the best guys. obviously that's always, the ultimate goal is to fight the best and get to the biggest promotion. But right now, at this point, I just want to fight, anything. I'd love to fight in one. It's another one, now that everything's coming out. There's a possible fight against that kid that Demetrius Johnson just beat, Danny Kincaid.
Yep.
So they were looking for somebody to fight him. I think it was January 25th. And I accepted the fight. And then I didn't hear anything. I don't know. I don't know exactly who their matchmaker is. I don't know if it's like Matt Hume or what is. I know they have a board that they go through. And I think ultimately they decided to stick with like local talent, which again, I can understand. But, I think he's fighting a guy that's like 6-5. And I think he's like 15-2, just fought Demetrius Johnson. And he's fighting a guy that's like, 5-5 or 6-5 from China. So, frustrating like that because these names come across to me, and I jump at it, and then they never come through.
I'm sure like the UFC is the top option right now. That clearly be the direction you'd want to go in. But, if that's not there right now and you had the choice, because you did put out that list of names, guys like Jared Scoggins and Brandon Royval and Jamie Alvarez were amongst the names on that list. If you had the choice of who you'd want to fight and fight for a specific promotion, what would be your ideal scenario? Like, what do you want most?
I'll fight each one of them every Saturday. I don't care. I just want to fight. I can't stand not having a fight. As far as promotion, obviously, yeah, I'd love to fight in the UFC just because, it's the biggest promotion. It's one of the biggest stages. I think ONE FC has just as good as talent as them, but for whatever the reason, they're not bringing in foreigners, Like, they brought in top names such as Eddie Alvarez and Demetrius and Sage, but they haven't really brought anybody else in. So, I don't believe that they're really building up the division by putting on fights with guys that are 6-5 against somebody that's like 15-2. If you want to have the best guys, you're going to have to search the whole world and find the best guys. I've been number one ranked in the United States. It's got to be 5 years now, So to think that I'm not one of the top guys, I won't even say that I'm the top guy. Just say, I'm 1 out of 5 out of the top flyweights, in the United States. Would still think, hey, maybe we should show some interest into hiring him, or putting on a show. Now, does it cost financially? Yeah, you got to bring me in a corner across the world to Singapore or Japan, and figure out a purse. But, if promotions want to say that, they're the best and, they're looking for the best, then those are things that you normally have to do for this type of job. You can pick and choose, but you still have to front money, if you want to search for the best guys, like it kind of ONE FC's, it's kind of like, all right, well, you guys are just acting like a local regional promotion with just like a handful of big names, because most of their talent is from that area, so I would just think that if you want to be the biggest promotion and compete with the UFC, you got to bring in talent from all over the world. You can't just load up your card with local talent, especially, guys that have like records, 6-5, 8-4. Like, there's better guys out there. Yeah, it's going to cost more money, but you're going to get better fights, But I would just like to fight for anybody. I want to fight for the biggest promotions that's going to put my name out there. I still feel like I'm in my prime. I have 32 fights. I feel like I'm just getting better. My game is still evolving. I'm still training with the best guys. We have a new added to our camp, which with Cody. Cody started training there. I've been getting great rounds with him. I love it. Working with him helps my confidence, along with the other guys that we get to train with. So I still feel like I'm in my prime. I feel like there is still a possibility that I'm gonna get better. It just sucks that I don't have the stage to show it, unfortunately, and or the opponent to really let me beat up on,
Why do you think you haven't gotten that UFC call yet? Do you think it's the lack of stage? Like, what do you think the holdup is? Because I think most fans, especially on Twitter, which can be a cesspool of negativity, are pretty much all in agreement that you should have at least be there now, or you should be getting the call sooner rather than later. Why do you think you haven't gotten that call yet?
Honestly, I don't really know. There is no issue on my end. I know there was this whole thing about I had to get cleared for medicals and stuff like that, which I did. I got cleared a long time ago. I've never failed a medical test, pre-fight, post-fight. I've never had any issues. I just went and got all my medicals done just in case a short notice fight came up, because, last time I fought was September. Medicals are only good for a couple months. So I made sure that recently I went and got all my medicals. That way, in case short notice fight came up, they're all good to go. So I've done everything that everybody's wanted me to do, even at the point of with the UFC when they wanted me to get other medicals because I was going to fight in Georgia. And every state has different medicals that you need. Some of them are the same, such as blood work and a physical, but other ones want a CT scan, some want an MRI, some want an MRA. That's where they differ. So I've gone and I've gotten everything that has ever been asked of me by any promotion, including the UFC, and I haven't had any issues, any red flags or anything. So I'm good to go on my end. Medicals are good, visa's good, my record is good, my finish rate is good. It's just a matter of, them saying, all right, we're going to hire you. I honestly don't know because I haven't gotten a straight answer, The last guy that they signed to the flyweight division was Tyson Nam, who I have a better record than, I have more finishes, and I'm younger than. So I would think that those three would be a deciding factor is, record, age, and finishes. And when I'm better than in all three, the guy that they just last signed, it doesn't really make any sense. So I would like a straight answer. It'd be cool, but I just haven't gotten one.
It's a crazy situation, man. I appreciate you coming on and talking about all of this. I'm sure there's a lot of other things you'd rather be talking about. I'm sure you'd rather be talking about a fight or a title defense right now. But I do hope you get one of the fights you're looking for. Obviously, you're one of the top flyweights in the country, if not the top flyweight in the country outside of the UFC. So I appreciate you coming on and talking all about this. But before we let you go, let the folks know where to find you on the web, social media, any other shout outs, anything else you want to get off your chest, man. The floor is yours.
You guys can keep following my journey. Obviously, it's been fun. Follow me on Instagram, srock125, or Facebook, Sean Santella 22. Also, stay tuned for Santella Martial Arts coming soon to Morris County. Had a little bit of a hiccup with the location. The location fell through, so I'm still actively seeking for a new location in that area. So that's also a lot of where my time's been going as well with, this inactivity I've had since my last fight has really been doing all the legwork. So that way, when a location opens up, I'm ready to move in and ready to go. So stay tuned for that. I'll be having updates with that. And then other than that, guys, I just want to thank everybody for the support, the following that I've had from, my amateur fighting back at New Breed and Asylum all the way up to where I am now. So I appreciate everything. I appreciate you guys for covering, especially you guys who take the time to interview the non-stars. You get all these bigger media outlets that only want to cover, fight day for UFC, and a lot of the stories get lost because people just don't want to take the time to cover the guys that aren't at that big stage yet. You guys have always been there, so I really appreciate it. Keep doing what you guys do.
Appreciate that, Sean. All the best to you, my man. I hope you end up getting a big fight sooner rather than later. I appreciate the time.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.